There we go, coming in here. You see?
Yeah.
Now this is all water that's bubbling out of the ground, top of the ground, okay?
In a quiet field, the water flows from where it comes. Nobody knows.
Site 41 has been environmentally illegitimate since the beginning. When it was proposed 20 years ago, the one independent body that was to judge it, the Environmental Review Board of the time, rejected it. And it was only put back on the public agenda through the back door of politics of Queen's Park.
1998, the certificate of approval was issued, which would allow them to actually build the dump. But there was no plans yet.
We just couldn't believe that anybody would be crazy enough to develop a dump in there, and we always felt that surely our council or the Premier of Ontario or the Minister of the Environment would see the folly of that and stop it.
Why are we so concerned? Well, we're on top of aquifers, more than one. And so we have the Allison Aquifer down a little deeper, then we have the Upper Aquitard. And after quite a search in 1985, they selected this site right here, Site 41, as the preferred location to build a landfill.
Since that time, we have found that we have the cleanest water ever identified and scientifically peer-reviewed in the whole world.
And this garbage would be no further than, in some spots, 9 feet from it. It's going to leak. It's going to contaminate this water.
We felt that the water would become contaminated. Not only the groundwater underneath Site 41 and the Allison Aquifer, but also the water in Georgian Bay, because it takes one day for the water at Site 41 to flow into Georgian Bay.
We have to stop it. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts.
On May 4th, 2009, the 5 Anishinaabe Koyuk women participated in a Council of Canadians walk to stop dump site 41. The theme of the walk is protect the water, and it went from Elmdale to the actual dump site. I think it was the day after that we'd actually decided to come out here and camp. I think it was on July 6th, I believe, that when the blockade went up. The blockade was up for about 5 weeks. The end of the second week into the blockade, Ann Nahus and I were actually served with an injunction for which we went to court to oppose.
And the judge ordered all the protesters to remove themselves from the gates and let the workers in.
Order was issued by Justice Lowers, yesterday's date, July 22nd, 2009. Corporation of the County of Simcoe, Vicky Monet, Ann Winchie Nahus, John Doe, Jane Doe, and persons unknown. Interim injunction.
The injunction is not being violated. Nobody is violating the injunction, gentlemen.
The arrest happened was some people actually got called. I got called, had to turn myself in. The Woods got called.
I got a call from the OPP office in Midland saying I was to get my husband and we were both to go in and allow ourselves to be arrested.
Danny Beaton was a snatch and grab, and also Ann Nahus got pulled over on the side of the road and told she was being arrested.
I'd like to tell you there's one good thing about going to jail. When I got home, I had cookies and muffins from Keith and Ina Wood on my doorstep.
Next month we shut it down permanently, right?
That's what we do. We don't know what the response is going to be back. Let's just make our decision. We are not going to dump garbage in Site 41. Let's please get that through the House, neat, clean, and tidy. And then let's deal with all future motions as a separate motion. Please, please, let's get this through.
Construction and all future development of North Simcoe landfill site 41 be discontinued.
The vote carries 93 in favor, 13 opposed.
Okay, thank you.
The C of A is only good for one thing, to build a dump, nothing else. So for the county to say, well, we'll hold on to it, well, I guess that means, what does that mean? It means that they could open the dump or sell it to a private company. I mean, either way.
Ultimately, staying the charges isn't really beneficial. I think what it more is doing is keeping the prominent Site 41 protesters on a leash for the next year. And me in particular, because I have the injunction on me and then the lawsuit and then my charges are stayed, so it's like if they were ever to do anything within the next year for Site 41 and try and redevelop the landfill, I'm the one who really can't protest or can't really effectively demonstrate my right to do so.
Site 19 item CL 10-100, and that with respect to the North Simcoe landfill site, staff be instructed to request the revocation of the certificate of approval from the Ministry of the Environment and provide a subsequent report for Council's consideration with respect to the disposition of the site and associated properties.
This council has accepted that we need to protect the aquifer over which sits this site. What are we going to do with the dozens of other landfills that sit over the same aquifer? The water in Bradford is just as precious as the water in Tiny Township. We need a comprehensive strategy. I want to hear from the chairman of that committee before we do anything more. Otherwise, we're putting the cart before the horse. And I ask all of you, why are we putting the cart before the horse? Because we want these people to go away. We want the emails to stop.
Let's not complicate the issues here. It's a nice clean vote. The first vote was no landfill on that site. That carried. That's the direction this House wants to go. Today the decision is to revoke the C of A. That's the next step.
The motion was made by Corporate Services to have the C of A revoked for Site 41. And then an amendment came forward by George Lawrence on behalf of the Community Monitoring Committee that said not only do we want that, we want to make sure the zoning goes back to agriculture and a covenant be put up so they can never ever have a waste management, any type, take place on that land. And then there was another motion brought forward by the Mayor of Midland, Mayor Downer, that would suggest that the land go back to Tiny Township. Now that one failed miserably, but George Lawrence's motion on behalf of the Community Monitoring Committee just passed. There still is a big resistance to shutting that site down completely. So it means that they have another purpose. So this has been an historic day. This is what we've been waiting for, is to get this thing really shut down. We have to understand that democracy works by participation.
We're not protesters. We're not really anything. I mean, we're your normal average people. We work, we take care of our families.
And we were able to participate in our system, in democracy. And it shows that it can work. There doesn't have to be any violence. It just has to be collect the information and lobby and stand up and make our politicians hear us.
So over the course of last summer, a strong community came together, old and young, native and non-native, and it was a tremendous feeling for all. And we celebrated often the native culture at the site, things that we've never had experience before. It's created a sense of community, and we understand now that there's some serious work that needs to be done.
And in fact, the First Nations issues are very much similar to us. We farm, we have 3 young sons. Ours is about how they're going to continue to farm. First Nations is 7 generations, so they look further than us.
First Nations all across Ontario have water issues, and it comes to the point of whether or not we're going to continue to accept the fact that people are putting contaminants into our water and not being held accountable for them, and the fact that we have to stand up and say no, because we have to look towards our 7 generations, and we have to protect our children and their rights to clean water.
If we listen to the ministry and to all the county councillors, there are no sites in the county of Simcoe that are leaking. They all meet reasonable use guidelines, just like they said at Site 41. Even if it leaks, it'll meet reasonable use guidelines. I don't want any more dumps. In fact, I want to start cleaning up the dumps that we have. And that's where I'd like this county to move towards, cleaning them up. And if we can get it in our heads to say no more dumps, we will move very aggressively and fast towards a modern solution to our garbage, which isn't happening because we still put it in the ground.
We are living in a world running out of clean water. What we now know, and this is proven beyond a doubt, is that a combination of pollution of surface and groundwater, the mass movement of water from aquifers, rivers, and lakes from where we can access it to where we cannot, particularly when we send it to big cities and dump it in the ocean as garbage, and we destroy it as we are doing with Site 41.